Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another edition, exciting edition of OEQA workshop, professional workshop. This workshop today will be the second part of the introductory series, the new series. We are into the third series now, and we had Instructional Coaching 1 the last time. So for today, it's going to be the part 2 of instructional coaching. However, please know that all previous modules can be found on our OEQA website on lagoslearnstogether.com and on our YouTube channel at oeqalagos.com. I want to recognize the presence of the Director General, Office of Education Quality Assurance online. Director General, good morning, ma'am. Awaiting our
good morning, all.
Yes, ma'am. Awaiting our Mirai partners, they will be joining us shortly. All school leaders online, all evaluators online. I say good morning to everyone as we wait for other facilitators to join online. Please know that you should please have your pen and paper ready as it promises to be an exciting workshop. Dijima, good morning for your. Over to you for your introductory message, ma'am.
Good morning, all. Welcome to professional development with the DG. As has been previously said, this is the third series, the final one for now, where we are really focusing on leadership within our schools. Now, the other session focused on part 1 of the introduction to instructional coaching, the importance of instructional coaching when it comes to our school leaders, our teachers, and of course our schools in the case of OEQA evaluators. It's been very important for us to ensure that we give out these workshops and that we're working with schools to improve their capacity in these various ways, as we know that focusing on these specific topics will increase and improve the quality of education provision to ensure that all students are able to get a quality education. So I'm just going to wait for the numbers to rise up a little bit before we move in to the session. So I think we will move forward in about 2 minutes. I'll give people 2 minutes to get on board. Ms. Fauzia, if you can just give an overview of the previous sessions that we've done, the topics that are available for those who may be new with us, and what they should be expecting in the next coming weeks.
Very well, ma'am. So while we are going to be sharing that information now, please let us just have your name, your introduction in the chat box. We'll hope you to introduce yourself in the chat box. So in the past, before now, we've had 2 series. The first series, just 1 second to just bring it up. Okay. One second, sorry, apologies. Okay, so in the first series, we had quality assurance. That talked about quality assurance. And in that module, we had school development plan, we had self-evaluation training, we had a training on using school improvement coach. We also had a training on difficult conversation, how to handle difficult conversation, maybe with your colleagues or at your workplace. And then we had another training on conducting lesson observation, and then we had ethics. So all these happened in the first series, which focused on quality assurance. And then you can find all these on our website, Lagos, www.lagoslearnstogether. So we moved to the second series, and that focused on quality of teaching and learning. And under that, we had about 6 modules. Yes, the first one we did was developing a powerful learning outcome. And then we moved on to moderating assessments. We had another training on hybrid teaching and learning. And then we had student-centered learning. We had a training on student-centered learning. We also had providing feedback, and then positive management, how you can have positive management at your workplace. And then now we are on to the third series. It's been quite an interesting session over the past few weeks that we've had all these trainings. Please know that we can find all these on our OEQA YouTube channel at OEQA Lagos on YouTube. And now the third series, which focuses on quality of leadership. This series, this third series, focusing on quality of leadership, has about,
I think you're breaking up.
Okay, it has about 5 modules in this series. We've had Instructional Coaching 1, and this is the part 2 of Instructural Coaching. So today is going to be full of interesting things that we are yet to know about how to coach. So I'm going to also be learning a lot today. Like we did the last time, Instructional Coaching part 1, and today is going to be the part 2 of that. So we just sit back and get our pen and paper ready to add to what we already know. Briefly, participants will be able to identify characteristics of a great coach from this module. You should be able to understand and coach resistance. You should also be, at the end of this module, we should also be able to know what an effective coaching cycle looks like. And finally, we should be able to consider instructional coaching in a distant and hybrid learning environment. So all these are packed in today's workshop. So while we are still introducing ourselves, we can see somebody from District 1, Mr. Babalola Rashid. Good morning. Welcome to today's session. Mrs. Kukoye Temitokwe from Ojodu Junior High School, Ikeja, you're highly welcome. We also have a representative of Education District 1, Adebogun Medina. We see you. Good morning. We have a representative from Caroline from Ojodu Junior High School too, Miss Caroline Feintola Adenyoju. Good morning. We see you. We have a representative from Lagos Baptist Senior College, Education District 1. Good morning, we see you. Please keep the introduction coming in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that intro. I wanted to make sure that we at least cross the minimum threshold of people expected for this session. So welcome everyone. I know the ICT team has really welcomed everyone talking about our previous sessions, and here we are today. So we will jump into it. So Ms. Fauzia, if you could just please share the screen.
Please let us know in the chat box if you can see the screen being shared.
Great. And please also confirm that you can hear me to make sure that my internet is working just fine. Okay, so I've already spoken briefly. These are the ways of working. Okay, we want to be present and we want to avoid distractions. I know that some people may be doing this from their office. Some people may be doing this on the go with their earbuds in. However way you can, avoid distractions and make sure that you're mentally present for the workshop of today. If you feel that you are not able to totally be present, remember that these sessions are all available on our YouTube at EQA Lagos, and you can always go back and watch those videos. Secondly, we want to make sure that you are participating and make sure that you use the chat for questions and for constructive comments. I know oftentimes we do use it to introduce ourselves, which is great because we are a reflection of a larger family, of course. So we want to really use it for constructive comments and for questions that you may have. No question is too small, and definitely there are no dumb or stupid questions. Every question is welcome. And then last, make sure you're doing the activities. You'll benefit more from this workshop if you truly engage with all of the tasks that we have prepared for you. Remember, the way this workshop has been designed is with the train the trainer method. So it is the expectation that as you are here online, you would be able to have access to the video on the YouTube. You'll be able to have access to the entire PowerPoint deck and related materials at lagoslearnstogether.com so that you can train and scaffold any of these workshops to those that you work with. Okay, so this is the agenda for the day. We've done a welcome and ways of working. We've gone over the outcomes. I'll go over them briefly again, recap quickly, because we've starting a little late, and then structuring a coaching lesson. We'll be talking about that, and then role play. Okay, last time we said role play, R-O-L-L instead of R-O-L-E. So for those of you that were here last time, you would get it. It's an inside joke. If not, totally fine. Question and answers would be last. Okay, so what are the outcomes for today? Number one, to structure an effective coaching session that leads to impact. An effective coaching session does not have to be one that takes the entire day. It could be 10 minutes, it can be 20 minutes, or even 5. The point is that whatever goal you have set for that coaching session, you would have made an impact. So we're really working towards how it is structured. Number two, how to embed powerful questions in a coaching session. And number three, to practice coaching skills in an application exercise. Miss Fauzia, I don't know if you have the Menti, if you have the Menti stuff prepared.
Okay, Miss Christine has joined in.
I'm sorry?
Miss Christine has joined.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Okay.
I'm so sorry to be late. I'm trying to balance many different things today, but I'm super happy to be here with all of you. Thank you, DG, for kicking us off, Ms. Dalzia for the tech support, and Mrs. Ashobo for, well, everything, right? We're going to do this. We're actually going to have to do this through the chat, but that always works well too. So no Menti for today.
Okay, that's fine.
So if you go to the next slide, we'll have the details on our little icebreaker. Yes, ma'am.
We have the icebreaker. Okay, so the next slide. Okay, right. So your week in 3 words. Today is, what day is today? Thursday. So you should have enough 3 words.
What day is today? That would be if it were 4 words, right? That would be a great 4 words for this week. What date is today?
So make sure you're answering that in the chat box. 3 words. Keep it clean.
Yes, ma'am. Keep it clean. You
Keep
can
it
think
clean.
any extra words you want, but keep it clean in the text.
Okay, let me try to see how I can answer this.
Oh, I've got mine. I'm ready. You can also mention who you are. DG, tired. You need to run over to Krispy Kreme's and get a coffee.
I have to be honest. Tired.
And if you can also add your name, who you are, where you are, what you do.
Okay, a little spelling errors, but yes, mine is
Nike,
tired
a wonderful week. I want to be Ms. Akimpelu.
Christine, you can probably talk about the fact that you've been across the border a few times this week.
Yeah, my 3 words are, where am I?
Someone said a busy week. Okay.
Stressful week.
Stressful week. I hope it gets better. Awesome week.
An awesome week. Okay.
Right.
Splendid and successful. Ooh, Medina. Awesome. We do this as part of online facilitation because it helps. If you're a facilitator and you're going in all super bubbly, right? And people are tired and exhausted, there can be a little bit of a disconnect. And so getting a quick pulse on how people are feeling is really important. This is a takeaway. We ran a workshop through another program with a woman from Harvard, a professor, who said she actually felt like she had become a better teacher teaching online. And one of the things she tried to do was to check in, just get a pulse a little bit more on how her students were
how the students
feeling.
were doing.
Mm-hmm. And these are adult students, right? It's graduate students and young adults mostly, but still adults. And we, with this other program we run, the HP Idea program, often ask, not necessarily your week in 3 words, but we ask people to rate themselves, mind, body, and heart. How are they feeling? And it's important for us to remember we're often working with teachers, right? At the end of the day, often they're tired. And we have to kind of recognize that, or they're frustrated with their network, or there are other issues at play. So acknowledging that is really, really important. So please keep adding these while we continue.
We will continue. Okay. Christine?
I love these. Yeah, so just go to the next slide then, please. I believe this one is yours, DG.
Yeah. So we did talk about this briefly during the coaching session on Tuesday, Instructional Coaching 1. But of course, like every good teacher, we will give a brief recap to remind us of what we are expected to know as we delve into Instructional Coaching 2. So instructional coaches partner with teachers to analyze the current reality in the classroom. So we're analyzing what's going on now and really trying to get to the root of what's going on within a classroom. Sometimes when we just look at how things are, we're just looking at the end result and really not understanding how maybe planning or any other thing could have contributed to that. So really analyzing it is very important. Secondly, we set goals. Okay, it's important to be able to set goals with our teachers. And when we're helping them to set goals, they're goals that they will be a part of creating. Okay. And then third, identify and explain teaching strategies to meet those goals and provide support until the goal is met. Okay, so providing the support until the goal is met. This really ties into the second one of setting goals, because you want to make sure that the goals you have are realistic and that they're smart, right? You don't want to have goals that are going to take forever to meet. That may be an indicator that you may need a more bite-sized goal. Next slide. Okay, so when we're talking about what are those high impact coaching skills that really make a lot of impact, exactly what it says. So we want to focus on asking, not telling. I know in the previous session, we did touch on this, how if we're asking teachers and we're probing a little bit more deeply and not just telling them what to do, we're able to get more, because the onus of the heavy lifting is now on the teacher, because they have to process that. When you just tell someone to do something, it's not interactive and it's not really allowing the other person to have a sense of agency as they work through. So asking, not telling. And then number two, contextual listening. How can we listen, not just to react, but listen to respond? How can we take all the keys of what's going on and really get context as to how the teacher has gotten to this space and to this place? Sometimes people actually don't realize that they're handling way more than they're than they're doing, So I like this contextual listening because it really helps them. It helps you to see them from the outside looking in a way that they may not be able to see themselves. Okay. And then the last, but not the least, is really helping with powerful questions. So questions that are not necessarily complex, but questions that are powerful and that scaffold on top of one another, okay, to delve deeper into what the situation at hand is within the classroom.
Okay, we're not going to do this on Minty, and it's not going to be true or false. We're going to try something a little bit different, and I hope you like it. This is actually a little bit of a quiz. Now, some of you may not have been here, right, the last time. Don't worry about that. You're just going to take an educated guess based on what the DG has already shared with you. Now, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to quickly share my screen because I will be popping a link into the chat in just a moment. So this link is going to bring you to a little quiz. No evaluation, of course. When you get to it, you're going to press start. Should take about 2 minutes. Now, if you want to put your name, great. If you don't, it's okay to leave this one blank. At which school or organization do you work? Again, put it or don't put it, it's okay. And then you can share your email address if you'd like. Again, you don't have to, but it's up to you. But we would like your role. What do you do? Are you a school proprietor? Are you a school leader? Are you an evaluator? And then the actual quiz itself begins. It should take everyone about 2 minutes. So I am going to not talk for 2 minutes to give you an opportunity to do this. I'm going to share the link in the chat. Hold on. Okay, here we go. And again, no judgment on this, right? Because some of you may have been here last week, some of you may not, but this is going to get you thinking about the kinds of questions that we were asking. And then we're going to go through the correct answers too, just so that you know what the correct answers are in the end. So here's the link. I will stop sharing my screen. And let's see, what time is it right now for me? Because I am in.
It's 10:28.
10:28. Thank you, Ma. Let's say we're going to do 5 minutes, give you a little extra time. So we will start talking again in 5 minutes time. So do this just for fun, just for an experience. You're doing something new, you're using another tool. This is good.
Okay, so everyone go to the chat box. There's a link and fill it out. I like this because it also helps to get some sort of baseline information as to where people are, what they know and what they don't know. And as a result of that, you can decide to maybe go back a few steps, or you can decide to move forward a few steps as a facilitator.
And this is perfect timing because the person to do my COVID test is on my way to the hotel room.
Oh, there's so many. For those of you that don't know, Christine was in Nigeria, in Lagos, how many days ago? I think 2 days.
Monday night with my son, Rusty. Rusty, pop over.
Okay, and she's in Ghana now.
Miss Kristen,
please leave the poor child alone. Okay.
Leave the poor child alone. No, I'm his mother. You can leave him alone.
Hello.
You met the DG very briefly outside of our hotel.
The hotel.
So this is everyone online in Lagos. Rustam, about 59 people. Rustam is now a huge fan of what restaurant, Rusty? Come back.
Chicken Republic.
Say it louder.
Chicken Republic.
Chicken Republic. All right, I'm gonna stop talking now.
Miss Kristen, please, you need to everyone. You posted to just the panelists.
Oh no, sorry. Hosts and panelists. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. All right, do over. All right, so 5 minutes from now then, as I've wasted 2 minutes of your time, we'll say 10:35. Sorry. I was just too excited talking about Chicken Republic.
Dear participant, we do expect you to click on that link and fill the form as it has been shown by our facilitator. Please click on that link and fill out the form.
I think we should be rounding up.
No, DG, we need to give them till, because we said 5 minutes. We really need to give them till 10:35. I'm just saying that because I know when I'm facilitating, I get like silence makes me nervous. We've gotta give them the time.
Yes, but we also have to let them know how much time they have left. That's why
2
did tell
minutes.
them,
They've got 2 minutes left.
They have 2 minutes left, so rounding up.
So we see comments like we cannot see the link in the chat box. The link is just right in the chat box. You need to check the tab on your phone and see chat. Open that and then you will see the link posted in the chat room, in the chat box. Just click on the link and fill the form. Fill the form.
Give me 1 sec.
Mrs. Ogun, I have reposted the link in the chat box. And Mr. Olabisi Giwa, the link has been reposted in the chat box. Please let us know if you can see it. Thank you, Mrs. Tiwalade, for taking for filling out the form. She's done with her form.
Yes, I'm actually looking at people's responses coming in. This is a tool that we use called Typeform quite a lot. It's a great one for designing quizzes when you want to embed videos and various other multimedia items. Of course, you can also do that on Teams or Microsoft 365. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can do the same on Google Forms too. So let's give everyone 1 minute, just based on any confusion there may have been with the link. Really excited to see people trying it out, though. It's always good to try something new. Okay, so we'll go with whatever responses we have now. Okay. So let me just refresh. So we got the, oh, hold on, that's the wrong one. I went the results. It's on a different link. Let me reshare. Share screen results. Here we are. Technology is amazing. Okay, so we've had 16 responses. I'm sure some of you are still completing it, but you're gonna get the answers now. So the first question was, which of the following is not an example of instructional coaching? And the overwhelming majority of you Got the answer correct. Well done, which was telling a teacher his or her strengths or weaknesses. We want to, in a coaching session, encourage teachers to reflect on their practice. We want to ask them to set some goals, and we want to ask the teacher to identify areas for improvement. The next question, now we didn't really talk about complex contagions in 2 days ago's session. Oh, okay. Rusty, I'm gonna have to hop off for a second. Apparently we have to go downstairs for the COVID test. So I'll just run through these quickly.
I got it. I got it. No problem.
Okay. I'll share the responses when we come back. Can you take over, DG, on the next slide?
I'm not able, because I'm not able to move your slide.
Sorry.
No problem.
BRB, as they say.
No problem. Okay, the next slide, please. Let's share the slide. And for that first one, I did want to touch on that briefly for the first question that people answered, although it was correct that telling, obviously, when you saw the word telling, is not really coaching. We did talk about during the last class that it's not that you're always in one type of coaching. There will be times that you're telling, right? And that really does depend on how much you scaffolded, how much you've been able to scaffold, and where your teacher is, right? So if the teacher is very, low level and there's a lot of work that's needed with that particular teacher, it may be the case that they need direct assistance where you literally have to tell them. Okay, but with coaching, we're moving away from that. But there are times when that is the case, and that's just the truth. Okay, so this is a model for what a coaching conversation should look like. We did talk about the fact that there should be structures in place. It is very important to set the agenda. Very important. I would say, in addition to setting the agenda, it's also important for it to have time on each of those items, just so that you don't move too far to the right, too far to the left, or you don't overflog a particular part of the agenda. Okay, so it's important to not just only set the agenda, but it's also important to put the time that you'll be using for each of those items so that it can come together nicely and that you're not overflogging a particular aspect of the agenda. Secondly, it's really important to understand that the motivation or will to change, okay? Understand that the teacher in a situation where they want to do better, they may be frustrated, they may be proud of themselves, wherever they are, when we're walking through shifting behavior, it's important that you understand what motivation is, what motivation that teacher also has, what inspires them, okay? Number 3, support the teacher to discover possibilities and gain insights, okay? We want the teacher to be eventually to be able to sort of self-medicate. We want them to be able to look at their situation in their classroom and to be able to diagnose the type of issues they're having and to be able to then be empowered and say, these are the things I need to move from point A to point B. So we are here as coaches to support teachers to discover the different possibilities that they may not have even thought of beforehand, and to gain insights as to what may or may not be going on in their classroom or with their students. We also want to develop SMART targets based on these insights. When we're talking about insights, we're talking about noticing trends over a period of time. So a lot of this also has to do with some data. You have to be able to dig into some data as to, if we're looking at attendance, right? What is attendance telling us about students coming into school, students that are coming in late? students that are struggling with a particular question, with a particular standard. We want to be able to gain insights. So we want to be able to develop SMART goals, targets on the insights, and the will to change. Then we want to conclude with the verbal contract of action. Not to say that the process won't be documented, it can, but we recognize the value in conversation, the value in speaking. Many things sometimes are left unsaid when they're just written down. And in as much as we want to accurately capture the outcome of that meeting, you want to also make sure it's embedded in a conversation that they feel comfortable with, and that you're able to sort of get a pulse for what is left unsaid. Because sometimes, if you're speaking to someone in a conversation, you can notice their eyes are a certain way, or they're, so there are a lot of nonverbal cues that occur, which is why it's important to speak about the contract of action and to get some of those nonverbal cues as you move along. Okay. So in setting an agenda, there are different types of questions that we should be focusing on. Different types of questions, and they all serve a different purpose. So number one, question for focus. You need a particular question that can talk about focus. How are you zooming in on a particular aspect of that teacher's practice? So an example would be, what would you like to work on today? Why is this important right now? What would you like to achieve? You want them to focus on a particular thing, right? Then the second set of questions could be to understand meaning. So look at this example. What would making a change in this area mean for you or your students, or for you in your role? So they want to be able to dig in a little deeper. What would making a change in this area mean for you or your students? It also helps the teacher to connect their practice to the bigger picture, because they have to think of the benefits and the challenges, right? Not just the benefits, but also the challenges. And if you know what the challenges are, then you can prepare for them. Then for number three, questions that focus on outcome, to set an outcome. So look at this one. What would need to happen for this coaching session to feel successful? What would need to happen for this coaching session to feel successful? Oftentimes when we complain because we see what the outcome is, but we don't know what has, sometimes we haven't analyzed what has led to that outcome. So when we're thinking about the outcome, the teacher has to sort of think backwards to think about the different steps that would have to happen for this session to feel like, yes, this has been a successful coaching session. Then secondly, what would be the best, can we go back for the last one? What would be the best possible outcome for you? So you're helping them to hone in and to zoom in of all the outcomes that a coaching session could have. What would be the best one? Again, I like this because the onus then becomes, the heavy lifting is on the teacher, not on you. You are putting the work on the teacher. And really being able to ask good questions is crucial to this. Next slide. Now, we talked about, going a bit deeper and understanding the will to change. So in going a bit deeper, how can we better understand the motivation to change from where we are now to where we're trying to be. Okay, so some possible questions to ask could be, tell me about the situation. Very simple. Tell me about what happened. Tell me about the situation. Because oftentimes when we see a situation, we're just looking at the surface. There may be some other things that have contributed to where it is now that the teacher may not even realize. But by you listening, by you giving them the platform and the opportunity to share without bound, in their own words, on their own terms, you may get some very useful information. So tell me about the situation. What keeps you from achieving your goal? What keeps you from achieving your goal? The person has to take a step back and really think, okay, is it just that I don't have technology? Is it maybe I'm scared? I don't really know how to type? Is it that I'm dependent on a certain junior officer to do certain things? Is it that I don't believe I can actually reach this goal? So what keeps you from achieving your goal? When you think about that goal, what comes to mind? Is it a promotion? Is it a celebration? Is it smiles on the students' faces? Is it satisfaction? Is it peace of mind? So when you think about that goal, what comes to mind? Then how do you feel when you think about it? We want to be able to go deeper. And, you know, for some people will say, why do we keep talking about feelings? You know, and thinking. Because feelings and thinking help us to understand our role. It helps us to understand our role in achieving our goals, our role in our actions, our role in our thoughts. Right? So how do you feel when you think about it? Could it be that you're feeling anxiety? Could it be that you're feeling excited? Being able to identify your feelings can help you to then tackle them appropriately. How would you like to feel? So maybe if I feel anxious, I would like to feel joyful. I would like to feel competent. You want to feel like you know what you're doing. You want to feel like all the years of your experience doesn't make you feel like you don't know anything. And someone that just came out of nowhere, who's old enough or young enough to be your child, is able to just get it in one flow. So how would you like to feel? Really connecting how you feel now and how you like to feel can be mind-blowing. Because once you can ascertain what that is, then you can make change. Next slide. Number 3, what are ways in which we can support the teacher to discover possibilities and gain insights? Remember, these are all part of the agenda that we'll be creating for the teachers. So once the agenda is set and you have uncovered the motivation to change for the teacher, you should now look at the opportunities and possibilities that are open to the teacher. Contextual listening and asking powerful questions are important to help the teacher discover possibilities and gain insights on their own, into their own practice. You know, teaching is a very lonely profession. Yes, you're surrounded by children. Yes, you're surrounded by many other teachers, but the fact still remains that when you are in your classroom with all of those students, you want to feel like you know what you're doing. And sometimes, if it feels that other people are able to get by without asking questions, and other people are able to get by without any intervention, it may feel like, you know what, I should be able to figure it out. And it could limit a teacher from really seeking out assistance or support, or realizing that they actually need support. That's why coaching is so important, because it brings the support to the teacher. The teacher doesn't have to seek it out, but it intentionally brings it to the teacher. Okay, so here are some possible questions to ask in discovering possibilities or to gain insights. What drives you to do your best? What's another way to think about this. If we're thinking about it this way, can we think about it another way? Could it be that? What approaches have you seen others take? When do you feel most effective? What steps can you take to find out more? What else might be true? Okay, so let's move on. There are several other questions, but these questions really help to dig deeper. And I would say it's even not just for teachers. I would say it's even if we're doing a check-in with the members of our team. I think this strategy is very useful. Next slide. Okay, we talked about this earlier on when we're talking about developing our objectives. So developing SMART targets. We want to make sure our SMART goals are strategic, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART. Okay, so how can we ensure that our targets are SMART? So you want to think through, what goal are you trying to accomplish and why? Why is central to being strategic. Measurable. How can we measure it? How will you know you've achieved your goal? What is your intended outcome? Is it a number? Is it a percentage? Is it a type of impact? How can you measure it? Attainable. What actions will you put in place to ensure you achieve this goal? It's something that could actually happen. You don't want it to be too big or too small. You want it to be just right. So it's exactly what it says. It's attainable, something that could actually happen within that time frame. Relevant. How does this goal align with your role as an educator? Is it relevant, or is it just something that's nice to do? And then time-bound. What is the timeline for achieving this goal? Is it for the day? Is it for the session? Is it over a period of time? We want to make sure that it is clear what time frame we're working with. Next slide. Then 5, you want to conclude with a verbal contract. I did touch on this earlier before. So the end of a coaching session should conclude with a recap of the conversation and serve as a verbal contract of what actions and steps are going to be taken after the meeting. Like I said, this doesn't mean that you're not documenting. You definitely are documenting, but you're talking to them about what the conversation has been like, and you can use the guidance of your notes to buttress your points. It's also good for it to be verbal because if there's any area of concern or area of confusion, you can quickly get it out of the way. Sometimes when people just receive a written response or written contract, there are questions that come to mind, but maybe they don't want to seek clarification, or they feel like they should know it, right? So when you're expressing this verbally, you give the other person sort of like a final opportunity to say, oh, yes, that's exactly what we discussed. Oh, no, I thought we were talking about this other thing, not this. Okay, so it really gives that person an opportunity to understand what your expectation is. It also gives them opportunity to make sure that you are on the same page. So some possible questions to ask would be, tell me what you are going to do and by when. How would you like me to hold you accountable for your commitments? Okay, so how would you like me to hold you accountable for your commitments? Okay, what are you taking away from this conversation? What will you have achieved by our next meeting? For our next meeting, what date and time will work best? Notice this is entirely within the purview of the receiver. The teacher is the one that's going to tell you what time and date will hold. The teacher is the one that's going to tell you what they would have achieved. The teacher is the one to tell you what they've taken from the conversation. So if there's any break, there's no one to blame but that person. That's why it's very important that they're carried along from the beginning, because there's more buy-in when people feel that they have been carried along the process. Believe it or not, I use this even when it comes to children and to students when we are creating rules within the classroom. You'll be surprised how harsh they could be when it comes to the rules. So when they know they've set their own rules, when you hold them accountable to it, there's actually no problem and they don't take it as it being personal. So I definitely have seen this work in other contexts also. So we're concluding with the verbal contract. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, so for the role play, okay, Miss Christine is back. Or maybe she's not back. Okay. Okay, for the role play, we're going to look at scenario 1 and then scenario 2. Ms. Fauzia is going to assist us by calling on people to participate, but I'll read it first. So for scenario 1, Mrs. Idowu is an experienced teacher with 10 years of classroom practice. She joined the school at the start of the academic year and is struggling to meet the school's expectation regarding differentiation of instruction. She includes differentiation in her lesson notes. However, her students always appear to be doing the same work at the same time. You asked her about this 2 weeks ago, and she said that you always miss the differentiation when you observe, and that it's impossible to differentiate with 40 students. So we are going to have 2 volunteers, one to play the teacher, one to play the coach, as to what a conversation would look like. So, Ms. Fauzia, please work through our list. It looks like we have over 70 people here.
Okay, very well, ma'am. Randomly, I have selected about 5 participants. I saw Mr. Abraham Oyewole, your hand was raised.
Okay, I was going to say, let's not totally make it random. Let's see who volunteers first, and then volunteering doesn't work, then it'll be random.
Okay, ma'am. So if you'd like to participate in this role play, kindly use the raise hand button, and then I'll just unmute you. Mr. Oyewole Abraham, you actually have your hands raised, and then I've allowed you to give your contributions verbally. So you can unmute yourself while we play out scenario 1, the first scenario. Mr. Oyewole Abraham, are you there?
I say,
Abraham, he seemed to be distracted at the moment. How about Mr. Joseph Adediji? Mr. Joseph, can you hear us, please? Kindly unmute yourself. Miss Mariam Omoyele. Mrs. Mariam Omoyele, Mrs. Nike Akinpelu. If you hear your name, just unmute your mic, please, while we play out the first scenario. Mr. Babalola Abdurrashid. So you just need to press the unmute button from your device. We still need to see more hands raised though. Are you ready for the room?
No, man, no. No, I actually came back from class now. Hello?
Yes, since you can hear us well now, and you can definitely what we are about to do now is for you to play the role of the first scenario that we have.
Okay. Can I have the scenario again, please?
Okay. So
I wanted to read it. Can I have the scenario, please?
Yes, please. Only the scenario now.
I'm sorry, can you please show the scenario? Can it be projected?
Okay. Apologies. It's showing from my end that it's projected. Okay, so once to just quickly project it again.
Okay. Am I to read out the scenario?
Okay, yes, but let me read it out.
No, we've already read the scenario. We've already read the scenario out.
Okay.
So we're just acting it out as a role play.
Okay.
But let me, while I'm trying to reconnect, if I can read it out again. Mrs. Idowu is an experienced teacher, 10 years of classroom practice.
I can barely hear you. I can barely hear you. Hello?
Okay. Some not background noise where you are. So
I'm
maybe
in
that's
school.
Miss Fauzia, please attempt to share the screen again.
Yes, yes.
Only you will receive an email.
Okay. It's taking about a minute to come up, to pop back up. Okay.
Okay, I don't know if we're having trouble sharing the screen. Can Miss Christine help?
Miss Christine.
Oh, I'm on mute. I'm on mute. Sorry. Let me try.
Okay.
How is that? There's something a little funny about the Zoom for me. It's a little blurry. I don't know why. Is it coming up that way for you?
Okay, we can see it now.
Okay.
But this is not the scenario we want to role play, please.
There we go.
The first one, yeah.
Okay.
So we read it before, so I guess I'll read it again. The first scenario. Mrs. Ido is an experienced teacher with 10 years of classroom practice. She joined the school at the start of the academic year and is struggling to meet the school's expectation regarding differentiation of instruction. She includes differentiation in her lesson notes. However, her students always appear to be doing the same work at the same time. You asked her about this 2 weeks ago, and she said you always miss the differentiation when you observe, and that it's impossible to differentiate with 40 students. So, Ms. Christine, we have a volunteer for this session. I mean, for this scenario. Is the person still here?
So, Miss Mariam Omoyele. Okay.
I'm here. I'm nervous.
There's nothing to be nervous with. Miss Christine is going to walk you through this first scenario.
Oh, okay. Okay. So So are you, Miss Miriam, are you Mrs. Idowu in this then?
Yes,
I am
think
Mrs. Idowu.
Okay,
Okay.
so she be okay, then you'll be
Okay.
okay.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I'll be the coach. And in this case, let's say I'm the school principal. Okay. So, Mrs. Idowu, it's so nice of you to share some of your time with me. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, madam.
I know you and I have discussed some of the challenges with differentiation a few times in the past. I'm wondering how it's going. I know I can see it in your lesson notes. How are you working on putting this in place in the classroom?
I don't seem to understand why the children are doing the same thing at the same. Can I have the story, please?
Oh, sure. I was actually going to the questions just to highlight them.
Okay. I don't seem to understand why the students appear to be doing the same thing, the same work at the same time, but I try my best to. I understand that the DG is very brilliant, and I understand that Mrs. Mariam Momoyele is still struggling, but it seems because Mrs. Mariam Momoyele is sitting beside the DG, that's why she's always distracting her and slowing her down when she's doing her work. Probably that's why they get to finish the work at the same time. Am I missing the point?
No, don't really worry. I don't think you should worry. I think, with this particular scenario, okay, sorry, I think my video is off. Okay, so with this particular scenario, a lot of the times we write something in our lesson notes and something else happens. Something else happens, right? So the coach is trying to get you to think through why something else is happening. So then the coach will now help you to figure it out so you can then plan better or plan differently. So I want you to be honest in this situation. So you include differentiation in your lesson notes. However, your students always appear to be doing the same work at the same time. So differentiation means that you're doing different things, right?
For different, yes, I understand.
You asked her, Miss Christine asked you about it 2 weeks ago, and you said, time she came, that is because she came at that time. That's why she didn't see it, but that you are doing it. And that is actually impossible to differentiate with 40 students. Will you be doing 40 different things?
Oh, okay. I think that the first issue would be time constraint. If you're giving me 40 or 45 minutes to actually to do an obvious differentiation class or learning with 40 students, I think I have a time constraint. I think that's the first problem I would have in this kind of class. I think I would have a time constraint, or I would need you to give me extra time, probably to take up some extracurricular activities from my classroom or from my class, for me to be able to make up with every other child that I feel that I have left behind during some classes.
Okay, that's really helpful. That's a great start. So when we're doing a coaching session, we want to begin with setting that agenda. And right now, our Mrs. Who do we have here? Mrs. Idowu is saying that, differentiation for 40 students is hard to do in a 45-minute lesson. So she thinks she either needs more time in the lesson or time after school, okay? So we already have a focus here, which is helping Mrs. Idowu find another way to differentiate without needing to add extra time to her lesson.
Yes.
Now, Mrs. Idowu / Ms. Mariam, how do you think it would help your students if you were able to differentiate for them more?
Hello?
Are you asking Mrs. Mariam?
Yes, to pretend she's Mrs. Idowu, and how would she answer that question? How would it benefit her students? How does she think it would benefit her students?
Oh, okay. I'll probably, the first thing I think I'll do is to consider the children that I'm leaving behind. Oh, okay, so I'm leaving these children that has probably spellings or reading or comprehension issues. So I could, because I want to create more time for them, I could do like a video, a pre-recorded video for that class or for that topic I want to teach, and probably send it to their parents over the weekend for them to watch it before I take that topic.
Mrs. Idowu, you've gone foul. You've gone foul. We need to bring you back. We need to bring you back. Mrs.
No.
Idowu.
Mrs. Idowu is very easy to coach.
Oh, very. In fact, you know, how are we going to learn, Mrs. Idowu? We need to break the steps down. So how would it benefit? You're already talking about what you would do, but
Okay.
how would it benefit your students if you were able to differentiate more and more effectively? How would it help them?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I know that there are some children that are probably audiovisual learners. I know some that when you do lecture method with them, they are fine with it. So that's why I think that for me to be able to carry every other person along, I would probably do like a pre-recorded video of the class session before the day of the class, send it to the parents. Then during class, I could have like a practical session. So as they've watched it before, and I'm just doing like a revision for them that day, then I'm also going to carry along those that are kinesthetic learners to that day. So I think everybody will be carried along on the day of the lesson. Am I too fast?
No, that's great, actually. So what as Mrs. Idowu is very easy to coach, which is lovely. When you're a school leader or even, an evaluator, you find a very wide range of teachers out there. There are some who are very easy to coach, and then there are others who might struggle. When I say they might struggle, you as the coach may also struggle with them. I know when I go in to coach at a school, if I coach 4 teachers in a day, typically I find at the beginning, before I build a relationship, it's about 50-50. Once I have relationships and the teachers and the leaders trust me, then I usually have about 80% who are relatively easy to coach and 20 who might still be resistant or defensive. And usually that happens because they're insecure in their practice. We'll assume Mrs. Idowu in this case is not insecure in her practice. She's got lots of ideas. She's already thinking about it. And she also understands what this would mean for her students. And I think what I would pick up as the coach then and play back to Mrs. Idowu is, I can see what you're saying, that if you are able to differentiate, you can bring all of your students along on the same day. That point of on the same day is probably where I would spend the rest of the coaching session. Okay. Now, we've already kind of skipped ahead a little bit in this, but if Mrs. Idowu was saying, like, I can't do this because, it's too hard with 40 students, I might say, well, what keeps you from doing that? And then she might say, well, the lesson time is too short, right? Okay, fine. If the lesson time is too short, let's think about how you can use time differently, okay? Then we might say, what approaches have you seen others take? Now, this is where Mrs. Idowu might say, well, I've been thinking about creating videos of the lesson and sending them to parents. So now I'm going to kind of jump ahead, since we've already sort of had that conversation, into this question. Well, what steps can you find out more? How would you go about figuring out how to create these videos? Do you have any ideas, or do you need any support? So I'm asking that question then to Mrs. Idowu / Ms. Mariam.
Okay, there are some applications that I've used to create videos. There's so many applications.
Oh, what applications do you like?
Oh, I've forgotten. It was during the COVID period that we did. Do I still have them? I know this. I've forgotten. I'm checking through my slide. Okay, X Recorder. I've used X Recorder. It's an application that you can actually, as you're doing your lesson, you can also record yourself and send it to parents. So you can share your screen and
wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, there are quite a few applications. One of the easiest ways to do is actually just to open a Zoom and record as you do a Zoom, but there are also screen caps.
I think Zoom might consume more internet data.
Okay,
so
great.
Okay, so in this case, I'll just do a pre-recorded lesson session, then send it to their WhatsApp.
Wonderful. That sounds exciting. How would you know? Now we're going to move into this next part, developing smart targets. So that sounds like an exciting possibility, Mrs. Idowu. When do you think you'd like to try this out? Do you have a lesson coming up where you could create the video to send to the parents?
I would only create video when I discover that there's an issue. From the scenario I am playing now, I think this is an issue. I can't just do things in abstract. So it depends on the kind of scenario I encounter. That's when different possible solutions will start coming to my head.
Okay, how likely do you think it is that you will have an opportunity to do this sometime this week?
Okay, I would do it I'll create sort of videos over the weekends. I can create sort of videos over the weekend or before weekend, or probably when I get home at night. So by Friday, I will send it, Friday or Saturday morning, I'll send them out to the parents for the pupils to watch it over the weekend at home.
That sounds really exciting.
I can't miss out on this opportunity to also.
Okay, go ahead, DJ.
So another thing I was thinking, Ms. Idowu, I know you talked about differentiating for 40 students. Could it be that with the 40 students, maybe they had an assignment that they did, and you are analyzing how you can split them up with similar issues groups of students have. So maybe 5 students have an issue with pronunciation of certain words. Maybe 10 students are struggling with fractions, maybe, like that. So if it's based on the skill, on the overarching skill, you don't have to do 40 videos. You can maybe do 4 or 5. And then with those videos, there'll maybe be some guiding questions or things you want them to look out for, right? So maybe 2 questions for each video. Right? Maybe 2 questions for each video, so that these sets of students are getting this video and they're having these 2 questions like that. So by the time they all come back to school, guess what? You've actually flipped the classroom. Am I not mistaken, Miss Christine? She's flipped, there's something we talked about, a flipped classroom, where some things are happening offline and the expectation is they'll come into school with these things. So I mean, this is amazing.
I don't think I even have to make 2 videos. I could do 1 video that try to touch all this area, then 1 probably live worksheets send it to them over the weekend to play around with it before they come to class next week.
Okay,
Whatever you think is going to make an impact, I think it's fine.
Yes.
great. So I would say there are two things here. One is the DG read the situation and felt that because Mrs. Idowu in this case is so proactive, right, that a suggestion could be helpful. When you have a less proactive teacher, I normally start with just the goal that they've set for themselves, which is to find one opportunity during the week to create a video to help clarify a misunderstanding and WhatsApp that to the parents. Again, you can feel out the situation. My goal in coaching is normally to have one takeaway and to make it something that they can do pretty quickly. Now, the final thing we want to do is conclude with a verbal contract. And we're practically there. The last question we would ask Mrs. Idowu would be, what would you like to have achieved by our next meeting? I believe we're meeting this time next week. So what would you like to have done by then?
To have at least 95% pass mark.
Okay, that sounds ambitious. And in terms of differentiating, what would you, that would be great evidence of success. What would you like to have done in terms of your idea of creating videos to support students?
Oh, okay. For me to test my students and realize or understand that, and get to understand that they actually understand the lesson that I have taught them. It would be fulfilling for me to see them understanding the lesson that I have taught them. The ones that have like spelling issues, seeing them getting the spellings, the ones that I see have issues with comprehension, getting to be able to read it well, like that, it will be a fulfillment for me when I see that they've really, at least to some extent, they've gone far in the lessons that I've taught them in understanding it.
That sounds like a cause for celebration. How many videos do you think you would like to aim for this week?
How many videos? Okay. I would have to really look at the number. Okay, let's assume I'm taking them 5 subjects now, and I see that they're really struggling with 3 of my subjects. I've been able to streamline it to making like 3 or 6 videos, depending on the number of videos I want to make per subject or per topic now. So it depends on the number of subjects that I feel that they're really struggling on or struggling with.
That sounds really ambitious. Why don't you just aim for 2 for now, and then we can check in this time next week to see how it's going.
Very well, madam.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Nice
All
session.
right.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So this was an example of a successful coaching conversation. Thank you, Mariam, for playing along. I hope you had some fun. Now, Mariam, or Mrs. Idowu in this case, is a real go-getter, right? She wanted to create 6 videos. Sometimes when you're coaching, you actually want to wind that back a little bit, because she might commit to that in the moment of excitement and then be like, wow, whoa, what?
Too much.
This is too much. Now I can't do this. Forget it. You know, so when I'm coaching, I'll actually sometimes when you have somebody like that, try to get them to even commit to, believe it or not, a little less.
Yeah.
You know, somebody might say, I will differentiate in all of my lessons this week. And I'll say, well, you know what? That sounds like a great goal. And maybe we want to aim for that in a few months' time. But for now, why don't you pick 2 and let's look at how you've been successful successful with that.
And that is really where the SMART goals come in. The SMART goals keep everything pretty bite-sized and succinct, you know. And I like that you sort of came in with the suggestions and thinking through the asking versus telling, even with the recommendations, you know. So I was just thinking, you know, for coaches that do have many ideas and want to just jump in and to save the day, how can we also help those coaches to sort of take a step back and prepare by having a toolbox of recommendations or things to solve the problems, but also just sort of waiting for the right time to unveil those solutions, so you're not taking over the driving of the solution within the classroom. So I think that, because especially when it comes to evaluators who have always played the role of ensuring compliance and of I won't really say coaching to an extent, but supporting. But, in some contexts, supporting looks very different. So how can we get to the point where our understanding of support is somewhat, wider, and also challenging us that we constantly support to literally take a step back sometimes and allow those that we're supporting to drive the process by asking the right questions.
Absolutely. And, one thing I would add to that is that from a QA standpoint, for those of you who have been in previous workshops, we always talk about that triangulation of QA. You have external evaluation, you have self-reflection, right? And then you also have school development planning. If you're internal at a school and you're coaching, in many ways, it's that school development plan that helps feed the toolbox that you built. And the training that you're then delivering for your staff and for your teachers. So differentiation is one that it's so often on people's school development plans. It's sort of always a good springboard for these conversations. I think, but I liked how you put just kind of, you've got the tools, you share them when the time is right. But the thing that was critical about Mrs. Idowu / Mariam is that she also had some tools, by reflecting, she remembered back to her COVID days, and some of the things that were successful for her then. If I had come in and said, I want you to put your class into 3 groups and I want to see you working with them, we would have actually missed the opportunity to hear Mrs. Idowu suggest something that she felt would work. She knew she was equipped to do, and it sounds like it would be successful, right? And that she can try out. So that's why sometimes you kind of have to hold back. And DJ, you missed this when we were wrapping up the last time, but I said, I love telling people what to do. Stand back. I would be more than happy to tell everyone what to do. But I also know you get more change when you let people reflect and kind of bring some of their own.
That is what I was going to say. That's actually what I wanted to talk on too. So what is the purpose, right? What is the purpose of that? And what impact can it make in the future? Especially as evaluators, when we go to schools, that may be a one-time opportunity, but how can we ensure that one time you go has helped to establish a system that is constantly working, constantly self-reliant, even after the time that you've gone? Because yes, you can make an impact upon that one visit, and then you probably won't visit that same school until another year or 2. But what is all that has happened in between? Our goal also is to empower those that are on the ground, those that are there, to proffer solutions to their own issues, so that yes, we're providing the framework, yes, we're providing some sort of constant feedback. I guess we're providing some sort of feedback, but we want it to be something that establishes a system so that those systems exist. And we can come back to checkmate that. We can come back to just sort of check and make sure that things are going well. But for the most part, it's the gift that keeps giving. I think if we think about it in that way, we can actually go pretty far. And it's very different than what is on ground. It's very different from how we are accustomed to doing things. So acknowledging that there will be, that it's a stretch is really important, you know.
Yeah, and it does take time. I don't know if we have anyone on this, workshop who's part of the automation pilot, but part of the value of the automation of the grading is that, if you are, say, working on differentiation, you are able to, keep track of that in your school development plan. You are, as a school proprietor, school leader, able to collect evidence and even share that evidence then with the evaluator that came in. That's sort of, for anyone who's in the pilot, it may seem like, oh, I'm collecting this evidence, it's hard work. But the benefit, the long-term benefit, is being able to really embed that ongoing school improvement within your school and creating a more fruitful dialogue with the regulatory team as well. Well, dear DG, we are 5 minutes over time. I don't know if you want to go an extra 5 for Q&A. I will turn this over to you to decide. Mute.
Yes, we can do the Q&A. I know that we had other, as we see, even when we went through the role play, that took some time, so I want us to also realize that embedded in this workshop are different tools that you can use, not just for this workshop, but others as well. So we had the icebreaker, we had the role play. And if we can go back to the previous session, to the previous slide, there's also something that so this is just like wrapping it up that you would have done on a normal day, create a newspaper headline capturing your learning from this workshop. So we're not going to do that today, but like I said, these are tools that you can use and you can scaffold across the board, either with your students, with your teachers, or your school leaders. So let's move on to Q&A. Okay, so I will hand over to Ms. Fauzia to help us to go through the Q&A.
Okay. So it's been an interesting session for the past 1 hour and more. I would like to have your questions. The DG and Ms. Christine are ready to answer all the questions that we have. So please, in the chat box or in the Q&A aspect, let us have your questions. And if you'd like to verbally ask your question, please kindly use the raise hand button so that I can unmute you while you ask your question. Let me go through the chat and see if there's any comments. Okay, we just have comments of people that said they've passed the test from the form they filled.
Oh, sure. Hold on. If you give me a sec, I can actually give you the results. Hold on here.
So we'll be expecting your questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and then ask your question directly to the DG and Miss Christine.
Okay, so I'll while you're sharing questions in the chat, I'll run through the response. Oh, yeah, I'm impressed. 33 of you responded. Well done. So the first question, 5, the correct answer to that was telling a teacher his or her strengths and weaknesses is not an example of instructional coaching. Now, we did not do the complex contagions piece of this yesterday, 2 days ago, sorry, just in the interest of time. But actually, Almost the majority of you got this right. Complex contagions in behavior are behaviors that take time to move from one person to another. I would love to even do another workshop on change management and complex contagions, because that's certainly worth its own workshop. But the idea behind this is that when you really need to change a behavior, not add in a new behavior, but change something, it takes continued reinforcement. It also takes evidence of impact. You want to see this as successful in other people. An example of a simple contagion, quite frankly, would be COVID, right? It spreads very rapidly. But you could also look at like a dance craze or a popular song that you hear people humming in as they walk around. These are simple contagions. Complex contagions are changing behaviors related to teaching and learning, or even diet and exercise. So the correct answer was the second one here. 70-20-10, we did talk about in the last workshop. This is the professional development model that emphasizes application and coaching over formal learning. Contextual listening, again, the majority of you, yes, got this one correct. The answer is recognizing that the person who is describing a situation is bringing it to us within a particular context. Coaching environment should be, this is a tough one. If the first option had said focused on building relationships rather than friendships, that could have been right, but it's not about building friendships. It's about building a respectful relationship. I do like the answer, though, focused on athletics. I'm venturing that was somebody who had just jumped into the call and perhaps missed the last session on this, no problem. But those are the correct answers. Thank you so much for participating.
Some people want to know if they can get the recording of this workshop afterwards, and I have put it in the chat box that is available on our YouTube channel at OEQA Lagos. It's also available on www.lagoslearnstogether.com under PD with the DJ. For now, we don't have much question in the chat box, neither do I see any hand raised to ask the DJ directly. So DJ ma'am.
Okay, so I would like to thank everyone for attending today's session. Thank you, Mrs. Nasser Gadzi. Thank you, OEQA team. Thank you for all participants. Always a pleasure working with you and meeting with you, particularly with the icebreakers. We get to know you a little bit better. So I actually do look forward for those. The materials that we've shown here today will be available at the Lagos Learns Together website. That's www.lagoslearnstogether.com. The recordings will be available on YouTube at OEQA Lagos. You could always get information about upcoming workshops on the Lagos Learns Together website as well. We want to thank you. We've come to an end and we are roughly 20 minutes, about 11 minutes over, not so bad. So thank you all for today, and thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing with our dear children and our dear schools. We do appreciate you all. God bless you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, OEQA team, and thank you, participants.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Do have a great day.